Hello and welcome to all our viewers in Nigeria and around the world to Meet the News on Global Television, coming to you live from the nation's capital, Abuja. I am Anieti Patrick. A quick reminder that Global Television is on DSTV channel 365 and StarTimes channel 276. The Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) voter turnout at Saturday's area council elections in the Federal Capital Territory marked an involvement on previous polls. The electoral umpire put the turnout at about 15% of the 1,680,315 registered voters. Besides, the commission explained that the final results from Kuje Area Council were delayed because of the difficult terrain in one of the electoral wards. Election Observer Group Yaga Africa says the FCT Area Council elections were largely peaceful with early deployment of officials and improved voter accreditation in many polling units. However, the group notes that late arrival of materials and pockets of voter apathy were recorded in some areas. Our correspondent tells us more. Let's go to the next story. We apologize for that mix-up. Grassroots politics takes center stage in Benue State as the All Progressives Congress begins a crucial phase of its internal democratic process. Party leaders say the ward congresses are not only shaping leadership at the local level but also reinforcing unity and stability within the party. Felicity Ndere is with the rest of the story.
The State Executive Committee monitored the process from Makurdi to Taka and Gboko as officials confirmed that the congresses have been peaceful and petition-free. The chairman described the exercise as a key opportunity to strengthen grassroots leadership and the party's foundation. The Benue State APC chairman, Benjamin Omale, expressed satisfaction with the level of participation, noting that active engagement by members would keep the party vibrant, democratic, and truly representative.
You can see that the democratic electoral process is going on, and that's to tell you that everything is ordered, free and fair. And this to assure you that the Benue State are ready and in order, and we are proud of what we have seen here.
Delegates described their participation as more than a political obligation, calling it a sacred responsibility essential to the party's continued unity and success. They also dismissed claims of internal division, maintaining that there are presently no rival aspirants within the party. In Makurdi, Felicity Ndere reporting for Global Television News.
In a separate development, the All Progressives Congress APC in Benue State is facing one of its deepest internal crises following the conclusion of parallel ward congresses organized by factions loyal to Governor Hyacinth Alia and the Secretary to the government of the Federation, George Akume. The exercises conducted across the state's 23 local government areas produced separate sets of ward executives, cementing a divide that threatens the party's cohesion ahead of the 2027 elections. The SGF-aligned camp, led by Comrade Austin Agada, announced that existing ward executives were reaffirmed for another 4-year term. Meanwhile, the All Progressives Congress in Imo State has successfully concluded its ward and local government area congresses across the 3 senatorial districts of the state. Our correspondent Amarachi Ibe, who was on the monitoring team, visited several councils including Oguta, Owerri North and Oru East, where most positions reportedly emerged through consensus, while voting held peacefully in others. Party officials say the exercise recorded no incidents reflecting unity within the party ahead of 2027. Chairman of the Ward and Local Government Congress Committee in the state, Godwin Anaworo, speaks on the outcome.
Yes, the SGA Congress in Imo State have gone very smoothly. It has been peaceful, it has been hitch-free and credible, strictly in line with the constitution of our party as well as the guidelines. You know, the APC family in Imo State is very united, and in almost all the places we have had reports from, we have had consensus candidates.
The National Assembly has outlined major reforms contained in the newly enacted Electoral Act 2026, introducing mandatory electronic transmission of results, compulsory use of the bimodal voter accreditation system, BVAS, and digital membership registers for political parties as part of effort to strengthen Nigeria's electoral integrity. In a statement issued by its Directorate of Media and Public Affairs, Senate Leader Opeyemi Bamidele said the legislation was the outcome of 2 years of consultation with key stakeholders, including the Independent National Electoral Commission, the Office of the Attorney General of the Federation, civil society organizations, and development partners. Bamidele stressed that the law was a collective effort designed to reflect national consensus. The bill was harmonized by both the chambers of the National Assembly and signed into law by Bola Ahmed Tinubu within 24 hours. The move aimed at preventing a constitutional crisis ahead of 2027 general elections. The Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, has inspected ongoing drainage, sewage, and access road works around the World Trade Center, Abuja, and the Abuja Metro Rail Corridor. This is part of effort to tackle flooding and traffic congestion in one of the capital's most strategic districts. The inspection focused on infrastructure serving Abuja's main government and commercial hub and area that hosts federal offices, corporate headquarters, and diplomatic missions, and which experiences heavy daily movement of workers, residents, and visitors, persistent flooding during the raining season, and traffic bottlenecks along key access routes have, in recent years, disrupted movements and business activities. Lagos State chapter of the Joint Health Sector Unions, JHELSU, has suspended its strike following the intervention of the Lagos State House of Assembly. The decision was announced at the weekend in a statement signed by the union's Lagos State Secretary Kabiawu Gbohlahon, who said the suspension followed extensive consultations with relevant stakeholders and labor bodies. According to the statement, the leadership of JHELSU reached the decision after engagements involving the Nigerian Labour Union Congress, Trade Union Congress, the Joint Negotiation Congress, and the professional groups, alongside what the union described as the timely and decisive intervention of the state's legislature. Troops of Operation Fasan Yama of the Nigerian Army have neutralized several suspected Lakurawa terrorist elements following a failed attack on Dakinwa local government community in Kebbi State. A counterinsurgency and security expert in the Lake Chad region, Zangazalo Makama, disclosed this in a post on X. Makama stated that the armed group attempted to raid a local market in the early hours and blocked a major access road into the community to facilitate the operation. 2 teenage herders were killed while grazing cattle near Joel Village in Urom, local government area, Plateau State. The chairman of the Mieti Allah Cattle Breeders Association of Nigeria in the state said the victims were attacked while grazing cattle. The Mieti Allah Cattle Breeders Association of Nigeria condemned the killings as unprovoked, noting that they occurred less than 48 hours after another ambush in Barikin Ladi that claims the lives of 3 herders. Yobe State Governor May Mala Buni has approved the review of official working hours in the public service for the holy month of Ramadan. This is contained in the statement issued by Deputy Director, Information, Office of the Head of Service, Al-Hassan Sule Mahmudu. The statement stated that from Mondays to Thursdays, the official working hours starts Monday 8 a.m. through 3 p.m., while on Fridays it's 8 a.m. till 12 p.m. These adjustments covers the month of Ramadan fasting only, and normal working hours commence immediately after the month of Ramadan. Nigeria Electricity Regulatory Commission has issued a safety advisory warning to residents to maintain a safe distance from live electrical wires and to avoid touching anyone in contact with electricity. In a public statement on its X handle on Monday, NERC emphasized that electricity is extremely dangerous and that attempting to rescue someone without proper precautions could result in additional injuries or fatalities. The Commission urged residents to act responsibly and allow trained personnel to handle electrical emergencies, noting that following these steps could save lives and prevent further accidents. The advisory is part of NEC's ongoing efforts to educate communities about electrical safety and reduce accidents caused by falling power lines or other electrical hazards. Residents are encouraged to share the message to help protect their families and neighbors. You're watching the live broadcast of Midday News. Midday News continues after this weather forecast plus business, foreign and sports stories on the other side of this break. Please stay with us.
Hello and welcome. Over the next 24 hours, visibility is expected to gradually improve across most parts of the country. However, slight dust haze will persist over much of the northern and central region. In Borno and Yobe states, moderate dust haze may reduce horizontal visibility to between 2 and 5 kilometers. Residents in these areas are advised to take necessary precautions. Meanwhile, moisture continues to dominate the southern region of the country, supporting partly cloudy skies. Inland cities may experience slight haziness along the coast, including parts of Cross River, Akwa Ibom, Rivers, some parts of Edo Delta, Ondo, Ogun, Lagos State. There is a good chance of isolated thunderstorms. Coastal residents should stay alert for rain showers and possible lightning. And that's your weather outlook for Monday. Stay informed and stay safe. I am Joyce Ogunleye, and I'll see you again.
It's good to have you back on Midday News. Election Observer Group Yaga Africa says the FCT area council elections were largely peaceful, with early deployment of officials and improved voter accreditation in many polling units. However, the group notes that late arrival of materials and pockets of voter apathy were recorded in some areas. Our correspondent completes the story. The Watching the Vote initiative of Yaga Africa deployed observers across polling units in the 6 area councils of the Federal Capital Territory to independently assess the conduct of the elections. In its preliminary findings, the civil organization reports that most polling units opened within the stipulated time, with electoral officials and materials present in many locations before voting commenced. The group commended the use of the bimodal voter accreditation system, noting that accreditation generally proceeded smoothly with minimal technical disruptions recorded.
The voter register was not initially deployed until voters raised concerns and voters objected in some polling units, and we provided at least in one polling unit in PU 004 Wuse Ward and Zone 2 Primary School. Other essential voting materials like voting cubicles were not seen in a couple of polling units, which we highlight in our statement. Also, materials such as ink pad were also not seen in the polling units.
However, Yaga Africa highlighted cases of delayed opening of polls in some areas due to late arrival of materials. It also observed low voter turnout in several polling units, attributing it partly to voter apathy and logistical constraints. The group further called on the Independent National Electoral Commission to address identified gaps before subsequent elections, particularly in strengthening logistics and enhancing voter education.
Destination where they've been reallocated. For security agencies, Yaga Africa calls on security agencies to ensure that their personnel conduct themselves with the highest level of professionalism. We note the level of security deployments in this election to a large extent constituted difficulties and challenges for observers who wanted to access the polling units to observe. And so we call on the security agencies to discharge their duties, especially as collation will soon commence, with some and a highest degree of impartiality, professionalism, and excellence.
Yaga Africa reaffirmed its commitment to promoting electoral integrity and urged stakeholders to uphold democratic principles as results are collated and announced. In business, Petroleum and Natural Gas Senior Staff Association of Nigeria has renewed its call for the federal government to divest majority shares in the nation's state-owned refineries, urging authorities to adopt the Nigeria LNG model by selling at least 51% equity to core investors. Under this agreement, the government would retain a minority stake while selling a majority shareholding to core investors. The national president of Pengasen and the Trade Union Congress, Festus Osifo, made the recommendation while speaking with journalists in Abuja. Director General of the National Pension Commission, Omolola Oluwawarano, has identified Nigeria's informal sector as a major opportunity for pension expansion and domestic capital mobilization, noting that millions of workers remain excluded from retirement savings despite their economic relevance. Oluwawarano stated that pension reform over the past 2 decades has delivered measurable gains but has largely benefited formal sector workers, leaving a significant coverage gap across Nigerian labor market. The Commission expects initiative to drive deeper pension penetration across underserved segments while transforming informal earnings into structured long-term savings capable of supporting national investment priorities. U.S. President Donald Trump has announced plans to raise a proposed global import tariff from 10% to 15% after the U.S. Supreme Court blocked his earlier mechanism for imposing sweeping trade levies. The move invokes an alternative trade provision that allows temporary tariffs for up to 5 months without immediate congressional approval. The decision deepens market uncertainty as Washington seeks to preserve its trade agenda following the court's 6-3 ruling against the use of emergency powers. And on the foreign scene, no fewer than 19 additional Nigerians have been named on the United States government's worst of the worst criminal list and are scheduled for deportation. Information from the website of the U.S. Department of Homeland Security on Sunday showed that the latest update has increased the total number of Nigerians slated for deportation to 113. The newly listed individuals were convicted of offenses ranging from sexual assault of a minor, fraud, assault, drug trafficking, and money laundering, among others. The government of India deported at least 2,356 Nigerians between 2019 and 2024, with removals quadrupling from 339 in 2021 to 1,470 in the year 2023 to 2024 fiscal year. Indian authorities deported over 2,331 persons during the period, with Nigerians representing 63% of all removals carried out by the foreign regional registration offices across 7 major Indian cities. This is according to data obtained from India's Ministry of Homeland Affairs. Somaliland says it is ready to grant the United States access to its mineral resources and military bases as it intensifies its push for international recognition. Mukhtar Qasim has the details.
The breakaway region, which declared autonomy from Somaliland in 1991, has been seeking broader diplomatic recognition following Israel's decision in December to acknowledge its independence. Somaliland officials say the territory holds deposits of lithium, coltan, and other strategic minerals, and argue that closer ties with Washington could strengthen regional security in the Gulf of Aden.
Friends, if it's Israel or the United States, explore the potential of minerals that we have, particularly the rare earth and the strategic minerals, in which we know are becoming very important for the United States. And as the President said, we are willing to give exclusive also to the United.
The minister also suggested that Somaliland is prepared to deepen similar strategic partnership beyond Washington as it seeks formal recognition.
Basically, Israel has recognized Somaliland, and two countries which recognize each other have the potential to agree on a number of strategic issues. But this recognition and relationship between Somaliland and Israel is not shaped by military or security. It's shaped by the fact that Israel has recognized an existing state.
Somali's federal government has rejected Somaliland's independent claim, while the African Union and several Arab states have reaffirmed support for Mogadishu, leaving the region's diplomatic future uncertain. Mukhtar Qasim, reporting for Global Television News.
And in sports, Paris FC forward Moses Simon is set to reunite with his former coach at Nantes, Anthony Camboré, who is primed to replace Stephanie Gilly at the capital. Paris FC drew with Toulouse FC, leaving them winless since January 18th. Since then, they have only lost once in Ligue 1 with 4 draws in that period, including one against Olympique de Marseille. With fears of relegation persisting, the newly promoted side have opted for a managerial change. The Olympic-sized swimming pool at the Mobolaji Johnson Sports Complex, Rowe Park, came alive over the weekend as the Lagos State Sports Commission staged the long-course edition of the Dolphin Swimming League, featuring schools and clubs across the state. The event drew World School Games champions, National Youth Games medalists, promising young talents, coaches, and an enthusiastic crowd of parents and supporters, underscoring the Commission's deliberate focus on age-grade athletes' development. Spread across 3 competitive sessions, the program featured freestyle, breaststroke, backstroke, butterfly, and individual medley races. Distances range from explosive 50-meter sprints for younger swimmers to endurance testing 200 meters events for older categories. And that's it on Meet the News. A quick reminder that Global TV is on DSTV channel 365 and StarTimes channel 276. Kindly follow us across all social media platforms now showing on your screen using @GlobalTVNG. I am Anieti Patrick. Thank you for watching.